Hello, I hope you're doing well. This week I want to try and challenge myself to finish all my knitting and crochet works in progress. I'm a pretty monogamous knitter usually. The last few months I've been jumping from one large project to another, and there have been a few projects that I've just let slip by the wayside, so I just really want to try and get a fresh clean slate before I move on to my next big thing. So I thought we could start by doing a bit of a roll call of all of my works in progress. I have 5 on at the moment, and I would like to end this video with one. So I guess I'll start with the one that I know I'm not going to finish in this video. This is my massive scrap yarn blanket that I've been working on. I've been making some short form content about this that's actually been pretty popular. I think people really like seeing scrap yarn projects. This is my version of the excavation blanket pattern, which is a free pattern available on Ravelry. I have modified it, so I'm using worsted weight yarn instead of fingering weight, and I'm also using 6mm needles. And I am making this because I want to get rid of my yarn stash, basically. When I first started this, I really fell in love with it and did quite a lot of work. This was done over the course of 2 weeks, but then I haven't picked it up in the 2 or 3 weeks since then. So I would quite like to make a little bit more progress on this. I'll show you the yarns that I'm working with at the moment. These are not all of them, but these are the ones that I'm like actively switching between row by row, and they're just like a collection of leftovers from all of my previous projects over the past like 18 months or so. I have a mixture of fibres in here, a mixture of colours obviously, and a mixture of weights. So I even have stuff like mohair here that I'm holding with thicker yarns to make up the weight. I'm really excited to make a little bit more progress with the blanket this week because I really like knitting on it. I find it extremely satisfying. I am a big fan of like the feeling of decluttering stuff, and seeing this eat up my yarn stash gives me the same feeling. So this is the size that it is now. I'm currently on an orange row, so we'll see how much progress I'm able to make by the end of the week. But this is also going to be my lowest priority whip. Next, I want to touch on the 2 projects that I have in this bag. These are very long-standing projects. I started both of these early in the year. This is the start of a crochet top. I think I made this progress in April, and I was planning on following the star cutout top YouTube tutorial by Lucille Pearl, but I got this far and never picked it up again. I'm using some DK weight Hobby Friends cotton silk in a black colour and a 4mm crochet hook, but I actually think that I'm gonna frog this. I really like the look of the top and I kind of want to keep going to have the finished object, but I also think that I'm not the biggest fan of how crochet looks with DK weight yarn, especially like double crochet for a garment. It's so see-through and holey that I think I would have to wear a bralette under this top, which makes it feel less wearable for me. And this is just such nice yarn. I would much rather use it to knit something. So we're gonna unravel this and put the balls of yarn back in my stash. The second project in this bag is gonna have a similar fate. This is meant to be the Tinks Things crochet beanie clava. I think this was started in January, and the last time I picked this up was in February. This yarn is the West Yorkshire Spinners Bo Peep Luxury Baby DK, which is 52% wool, 48% nylon. I just have absolutely no motivation to keep going with this. If you saw my crochet microshorts project vlog, you might know that I am not very good at slip stitching through the back loop, and this entire pattern is slip stitching through the back loop, and it is especially hard with black yarn. So I think the best course of action is unravel this and just knit a black beanie with the yarn, and I can probably knit a black beanie in about a quarter of the time that this has been sitting around. On to my penultimate project. This is the one that I am the most excited to finish. I actually was watching Breathing Yarns knitting whip marathon, and watching that video gave me the steam to really want to finish this off. So this is honestly so close to being done. This is the Zila cardigan by Feminite, and all I have left to do is my second sleeve and like some finishing around the collar and the edges. I knitted this much of it up in a week. I think I called the vlog something like seeing how much I could knit while solo traveling around Europe, and I got an awful lot done because I spent so much time on buses and planes and trains and that sort of thing. But then when I got home, I just didn't pick it up again. As you can see, this sleeve is pretty short, but I think this is going to stretch to hit my wrist. As you can see, it's got this really nice diagonal slit to it. I've also got some hook and eye closures that I think are going to look really good with it. And the yarn that I'm using is this lovely combination of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk held with We County Yarns Kinross 4-ply. This is in the shade Quartz and this is in the shade 2. This is knitted on 5mm needles and I've really enjoyed the process of knitting this so far. I think it's going to be a breeze to get this done. I just need to actually put the hours in. And my last project is also the project that I'm going to be starting on first. This is a crochet beanie from a Hooks and Needles box. I'm doing some work with Hooks and Needles over on my Instagram and they very kindly have set absolutely no deadlines for how long it takes me. So I decided to challenge myself and go for the most advanced patterns in their subscription boxes. So this beanie has a lot of advanced crochet techniques to create this like cabling effect. The yarn is stunning. It's this really nice, what is it? Yeah, merino wool that's like, I want to say, oh, this is a worsted weight and a 5mm hook. I'm loving the experience of working on this so far, but I am taking my time because all of these stitches are so new to me, but I do want to get it done. This is what I'm going to pick up and work on today. We have been so blessed with the weather and I think that it's going to continue on for the rest of the week. If you don't know, I live near the west coast of Scotland and it is just paradise when the weather is like this. I've also fixed my scooter up, so I've been driving to the beach almost every day and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to take this with me, go for a little swim in the sea and get salt and sand all up in this hat. The hat is now finished. I went to Glasgow the other day just to go to the dentist and the hygienist, which is why my teeth are looking like 5 shades whiter. I didn't realise how stained they'd gotten, but I did the majority of work for this on the train there and back. And I love how it's turned out. It was such an interesting project to do because of all this sort of cable effect crocheting, which I think looks extremely complicated, even though it wasn't that bad to actually do. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is a gift knit for my mum because she had a look at the Hooks and Needles boxes and really liked the colours of this. She really likes purple. She also wears hats a lot because her ears get cold really easily. And yeah, here it is on. I haven't actually blocked it yet. I don't know if it really needs it. The stitches look pretty good. But yeah, the fit is nice and I'm really happy to have ticked this one off. I have also frogged my 2 other crochet projects. So I now have just some fully wound balls of yarn here ready to be turned into new projects when I so desire. So I can put this away, and that's already took my 5 whips down to 2, which is brilliant. I've also been doing a little bit of work on this blanket. As you can see, it just sort of drapes over my armchair there because it's too big to store anywhere else, and it actually looks quite nice even when it's unfinished. So we were at the orange row when I first started. So I've done like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 inches of work there. I did count my stitches on my last row, and I'm at 200 stitches exactly on my needles. The stitch count increases by 1 stitch every row, so that also means that I've done, I think I started with 3, or did I start with 6? I think I started with 3, so this is 197 rows so far. I cannot wait for this to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm loving working on this. But now it's time for me to finish my cardigan. So I'm gonna pick up stitches for the second sleeve today. And this is the outfit that I wore to Glasgow the other day. I really like it. I wore it with this handbag and these shoes, and I felt really good in it. It was like 23, 24 degrees. And I'm very glad that I was wearing like such a summery little outfit. But I actually want to tell you some more about this top because it's from the sponsor of today's video, which is OGL. OGL is a B Corp certified clothing brand that focuses on creating pieces that are super comfortable and also made out of natural, breathable fabrics. And if you've ever heard me talk about my preferences for my style and my clothing, those are both top priorities for me. Most of OGL's tops have built-in bras, which is one of their main features. I do have a few different tops to show you, but this one's actually become my ultimate favorite. I didn't expect this one to be my favorite as it is such a basic, but it is just like perfectly executed in every way. The back is a really nice T-back detail, and the fabric composition of this is 69% tencel, 24% linen and 7% spandex. It is so soft. I find the neckline of this so flattering as well. I have quite broad shoulders and I don't really like how spaghetti strap tops look on me. This V-neck detail is just perfect. It's also a really nice length for me to wear with my low-rise bottoms. Here's some of the other clothing items that I've picked out. This top is actually one of OGL's best sellers. It's their one shoulder twisted brownie tank. I was wearing this at the start of the video. I love a one shoulder top, and this is the most secure feeling one shoulder top that I own. The fabric composition of this one is 92% viscose and 8% spandex, so again, super nice and breathable. I also really love that you just can't see anything of the inbuilt bra through the material. This is another one of their tops. I just want to show you what the inbuilt bra looks like inside out. So it's in a completely separate layer of fabric with this stretchy band underneath that provides a little bit of support. And it also has these padded inserts that are removable. I'm also wearing some OGL trousers right now. This is what they look like in full. These are a cotton, nylon, tencel and linen blend, and they are so comfortable. They could pass as like smart tailored trousers, but they genuinely feel like I'm wearing joggers, which is a dream. And this is what the khaki top looks like on. I actually think it pairs so well with the grey trousers. This is a very similar cut to the white asymmetric top, but this one has a wider strap and more coverage over the chest. This one's even more supportive than the twisted strap one. And this top is a majority modal with some polyester and spandex in it as well. I chose these pieces specifically to try from the OGL website because I don't wear bras at all. I have a bit of a sensory issue with them and I only ever wear nipple covers, but sometimes it can be really hard for me to wear especially white tank tops or even mid-toned tank tops like this khaki because you can still see the nipple cover through the material. I find these tops just as comfortable as going completely braless, but with the added peace of mind that I'm not going to get any unwanted stares. Thank you again to OGL for sending me these pieces and sponsoring this video. There'll be links to shop all the pieces that I've shown in the description. For now, let's finish this cardigan. Oh, it actually goes really well with these trousers. Nice. meant to be going to this gorgeous outdoor heated swimming pool today, but my scooter is broken again, and I think this time it's beyond my capabilities to fix. So instead, to cheer myself up, I'm gonna finish the second sleeve of this cardigan. I have been working on this for like 2 or 3 days now. So I did the sleeve caps in one evening, and then I knitted the bulk of the sleeves yesterday and the day before. Today I am on the ribbing, and I'm hoping to get this sweater completely finished today since I don't have any plans anymore. And I thought this could be a good opportunity for me to revisit a few of my hot takes. So I made a video like probably 2 weeks ago by the time you're seeing this, talking about some of my knitting hot takes, and they were true to definition hot takes. Like, they hadn't been workshopped or discussed with anyone else, and they were just like coming off the top of my brain. But that video has gotten more comments than any of my other YouTube videos, even though it's like nowhere near my most watched video. And I've been reading through all of them, and it's made me reflect on my opinions and honestly like quite substantially change some of them. And I just want to tell you what I've learned about myself in the process of having this discussion. The 2 takes in that video that got the most attention in the comments were my one around acrylic yarn and my one about having the time to knit be a privilege. I think those 2 were the most divisive opinions that I shared, and now that I've had some time to reflect and dig deeper into those opinions, I've realised sort of the core mindsets that I have that led me to feel so strongly in the first place. I've realised part of the reason that I have such a strong negative opinion about acrylic yarn that I didn't even know about myself or mention in the last video, and it is that knitting with natural fibres is the main reason that I started knitting. It was one of the first reasons that I had to pick up a pair of needles. The first project that I ever made was a big wool blanket, and I made that wool blanket because I didn't want to have like polyester or acrylic blankets anymore. I wanted a really nice, really comfy, real wool blanket, but I couldn't afford any of the ones that I liked the look of that I could find in the shops. Like, wool blankets are very expensive. So I was just like, I'll make one then. I'll learn to knit. And I did that. I had my blanket. It took me like a year, but I was solely motivated by the fact that I wanted something wool. After I finished the blanket, I then went on to make a few sweaters. And again, the motivation behind those sweaters were, I want to own wool sweaters. I've been wearing acrylic and polyester sweaters my whole life, and I really just wanted to start being able to wear wool, but I couldn't find any wool sweaters that were affordable for me being sold by shops, like ready-made, that were also like my style. Like, wool sweaters can get extremely expensive. So after I'd already learned how to knit the basics, I was like, I'll just start making my own sweaters. And that is still a large reason of why I like making sweaters now. I really love having a natural fibre knitwear wardrobe. And if I wanted acrylic or polyester clothes, I would just buy them. So as I am so motivated by being able to own things with such luxurious fibres and luxurious blends, I cannot fathom wanting to knit with 100% acrylic, right? I think even making like things where maybe acrylic would be potentially suitable, like really big blankets. I am making a really big blanket, as you saw, and I'm still choosing to do it with wool, although it is my scraps. Or like baby clothes. I think if I were to make baby clothes, I would make them out of wool blends, like superwash wool blends. I once worked with this yarn that defined itself as a baby yarn, and it was 50% bamboo, 50% polyamide, and it was so soft. Like, I would probably use that and not still go for 100% acrylic. But I think the thing is with sharing your opinions on the internet is that it has to be globally applicable, right? I think that's probably why a lot of people shy away from sharing their opinions in the first place, because, you know, I am confined to my bubble. I don't really understand why anyone with my tastes and preferences and circumstances, and in my country with the availability of wool yarns that I have, would choose to knit with acrylic. But that's not my whole audience. I think the parasocial relationship that I have with my audience kind of goes 2 ways. Like, there's the obvious parasocial relationship from audience to me, But I think I also assume that my audience is very similar to me, and I'm sure a lot of my audience is. But the comments of that video taught me that even in Australia it's hard to get cheap wool yarn. So the more you know. And the second hot take that I had, that I have sort of delved deeper and found more out about myself by, is having the time to knit shouldn't be a privilege. I did say very briefly in the last video, I didn't give it that much thought to be honest, but I was like, okay, I do know that some people are in the situation where they don't have any time for their hobbies, and I really feel for you and how your life is at the moment. But the majority of the comments that I got about that hot take were just telling me a lot of people's lives are like that. It is a privilege, like you should recognize that you have that privilege. And I was thinking about this more and more and more, because like, you know, maybe privilege is the wrong word. I've seen people discuss this on Instagram and they use the word luxury instead of privilege. Like, being able to have time for your hobbies shouldn't be a luxury, which maybe is a better way of putting it and what I was getting at. But I realised that I was getting a bit defensive reading some of the comments where people had different opinions, and I sort of like did a bit of a self-awareness check and like tried to get to the bottom of it, and I realized that it's all comes from fear, and it's a fear of my life at one point not being able to accommodate me doing my hobbies. Because realistically, like, my life in the future could end up like what a lot of people were describing, where they have dependents to look after and they are working and they just don't have any time left for themselves. And I am absolutely terrified of ever being in that position. And the only way that I can really cope with that idea without it like fully putting me off ever wanting to have kids ever is to tell myself that I would never let that happen. I understand that in different phases of your life you have different priorities, and maybe there are necessary sacrifices that you make to make way for other things. But knitting for me, or you know, other hobbies similar to knitting, like doing yoga for example, are sort of really important for my mental health. I find that they really revive me and give me more energy to be around other people, and they give me a moment of pause to reflect and be able to be the best version of myself for the people in my life. And the idea that that could be taken away from me just by necessary circumstances, like financial circumstances, changes in my family life, that is so scary. Especially because a lot of the time when I'm knitting, I'm not just like having dedicated knitting time, I am multitasking along with something else, normally work, or like the commute to work, or you know, spending time with loved ones. I knit whilst doing those things. The idea that I would ever be so swept off my feet that I couldn't even multitask in that way to enjoy my hobby, it's a lot. So my mind just like rejects it and is like, oh, you know, you'll always find a way. Even if knitting isn't your priority, you'll have some time to do something else that will also ground you in a similar way. And then, you know, it's a very small step in extrapolating that argument from my possible future into other people's very real present and being like, well, if I was in that position, I would just do that. Whereas, like, you know, I can't actually say whether or not that's ever going to be the case. I would really hope that I would always be able to find some pockets of time, but I'm only living my own life, right? I'm not living anyone else's life, and I don't know how possible that is for other people. So yeah, I think that hot takes video was another lesson in only ever really being able to speak for myself. And all the people that just wholeheartedly agree with me, I also really value that, but it's probably because you are in my bubble, I guess. That's my little rant over. I already feel a bit better that I'm not swimming in a nice pool, and instead I have to go to a garage and pay lots of money to have a new battery put in my bike. Oh well. I think I've got about 7 more rows to do before I call it a day with this sleeve. Oh, I did also want to say, when I picked up this project again, I had no idea which size I made. I had to count all the stitches in my first sleeve to figure it out. I'm making the 3rd size for reference. Also, I've read ahead in the instructions and it says to do the ribbing on the front panels like slightly separately because one of them is meant to have a button band, but I'm not going to do a button band. So I'm going to see if I can pick up stitches for the finishing along the front and the collar just all in one massive go. This project really hasn't used up that much yarn, I don't think. I am on, this is bowl number 4 of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk, and this is bowl number 3 of my fingering weight We County yarns, and I expect that I will not have to touch bowl number 4. I feel like this yarn might be a bit itchy on my skin. This is feeling a bit, just the slightest bit rustic, but like when I have it sat over like the inside of my arm or something, I can feel it tickling me. It's too late to turn back now, isn't it? My Zila cardigan is finally finished. I'm not sure if this is the final iteration of this jumper. I was expecting the sleeves to grow more with blocking, and I think they're a really practical length, but I'm not sure if like proportionally they just look too short. Maybe I should add just like 1 more inch of ribbing onto the bottom. I'm also not totally sold on being able to see what I'm wearing underneath the cardigan. I may like sew this up. I think it'll make the cardigan look more basic but also more bearable with whatever is underneath. With the neckline as well, whatever I wear you can see coming out of the top because it's quite a wide boat neck. And I don't mind how this OGL top looks with just like the little straps. I think that's kind of cute, but I'm not super sure how I would feel about like a t-shirt neckline showing out. It could be cute, it could look intentional. I also might do something to make sure the hook and eye closures stay closed so that they don't open of their own accord, and just be able to put this on like a sweater. But also I do think it still looks really good as is. I'm really happy with the body length that I went for. It's just basically the same length as most of the tops that I wear. Yarn is also less itchy than I expected. I can't feel it at all on my arms. It's like prickling a little bit on my chest, but I can deal with it, and I also didn't block it with like any sort of softener or wool wash, so I'm thinking it'll soften up over time, which I'm really glad about. I was expecting this to be itchy and have to wear like a long sleeve thermal underneath, but I don't have to, which is great. The pattern was so easy to follow. I would highly recommend it. I do wish that I followed the pattern instructions to the letter for the front edging. I cut a corner because I wasn't doing the button band and did it all in one go. But that's resulted in this top edge kind of curving around and kind of folding in on itself a little bit, instead of it being a nice sharp angle like it is at the bottom, but you know, barely noticeable, especially with the hook and eye closure, so it doesn't really matter. Do let me know what you think of the sleeve length. I'm very tempted to just call it a day with this and have this be the finished version of it, but I don't know if it would be improved by slightly longer sleeves and having this be sewn up. My mum also really likes how it looks with these top 2 hook and eyes open like this. She said it reminded her of like how a biker jacket looks. I don't know if I'm into this, but then it's quite nice to let my chest get some air while also keeping the rest of me warm. So now I am down to only 1 work in progress, and I'm feeling very, very, very good about it. It's made me very excited to cast on a bunch of stuff immediately, and I'm gonna try and restrain myself from doing that. I did do a little bit more work on the blanket today as I was waiting for the cardigan to dry. So this is what it looks like. It's getting like proper heavy. I've just finished up another bowl of yarn with this blue row. So at the start of the video we were down at the orange, Now we've done all of that. So overall, a really productive week for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope maybe it's inspired you to tackle some of your whips. Thank you again to OGL for sponsoring this video. You can check out their clothes in the description. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!